Hello there. I'd like to share a little insight that I received in the last week. This is about bettering ourselves, about making ourselves clearer, sharper, more attuned to growth, transformation, allowing our sincere seeking of the truth and of love and unity to be accentuated, to evolve quickly in our lives, to unfold with more clarity and insight and realizations and speed and growth. I think you get the picture. And I think that we all know that we absolutely can program our reality. I think if you've watched any of my other videos, you understand my background is in neurolinguistic programming. Basically, we can reprogram the whole mind. Neuroscience has shown our brains are neuroplastic. We can change our entire personality. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. Depends on whether it's empowering you or disempowering you. So for the majority of people who are watching me on my videos, I'm sure you are also seeking, as I am, truth and love and understanding and unity in your life to empower yourself. And so in my usual seeking of this, I started to question if I needed to make some changes in my life. I'm always making changes, but I felt that there was a need to make a stronger change. Recently, I got back from a couple weeks away on a beautiful holiday, and I came back with a clearer picture of some of the things that were perhaps making me a little dull and mesmerized, dulling my senses, mesmerizing me in my life, keeping me stagnant, keeping me preoccupied, keeping me hypnotized. Now, this is very much a part of neurolinguistic programming. We basically dissect all the things that have put us into these subconscious states of hypnosis. Basically, we all go into hypnotic states. Simply a trance is where we go into a theta brainwave state, the state that we are usually up until the age of 7 in permanently, all the time. And so we need to be careful because the 0 to 7 age group is where we can be programmable. And so the reason is because we're in these theta brainwave states, this theta alpha brainwave state. So theta alpha, we are in this kind of relaxed hypnotic state. Information just goes straight in. It doesn't get questioned. It goes right in underneath the filters, and we see the world as black and white through these new filters of perception. And that's why it can be very difficult to change our programming as adults. However, we are still being programmed. We are still being hypnotized. And I'm sure you recognize this in some of the parts of society in our culture. Now, one thing I was reminded of was that I need to be really aware of the parts of my life that put me into a mesmerized state. And so I was shown that I needed to look closely at my life and cast off anything that was pulling me away from my focus on my spiritual journey and the evolution of my soul. This is my highest value. So it is a high priority for me to make sure that I do a regular stock take and check that I'm not being caught up in hypnosis or mesmerization by things within the external world. And I would encourage you to do the same. So I realized, and I think you can all recognize this as well, that television can absolutely put us into a mesmerized state. It can dull us. And so what I did was I decided, and I spoke to my husband about this, and we agreed that we would cover the television with a cloth all week. And we would only remove that cloth with very conscious decisions to watch certain things. And this will free up time and space for us to sharpen our senses. Not just sharpen our physical senses, but sharpen the spiritual senses, the ability to see and hear through our spiritual eyes and ears. And this just enables us to be able to have more conscious choice using our sovereign gifts of willpower in this human experience. And the thing is, and we learn this in NLP, we can be mesmerized and programmed by external things that take us away from our sovereignty. And this is why the average person 80% of their thoughts are subconscious thoughts, which are negative. They actually found that. The National Science Foundation found that research. And so we need to be aware, wake up, if you like, to where in our lives we are being mesmerized. We are being kept dull, kept unconscious. Because as we free up this space where we become more conscious and more sovereign, we begin to make wiser choices for our own spiritual evolution and growth. And so this is why I took the approach this week to cover the television as a symbolic reminder that that is not going to affect me the same way anymore. And, you know, I wasn't a huge hours and hours of television, but we did watch a couple hours every night as kind of just a thing we did. And I think that it was time for us, at least, it was time for us to move on from that mesmerization. Now, of course, there's other things that can dull you. There's alcohol and there's any kind of external substance or distraction that keeps you from staying conscious of and making conscious choices, rather than defaulting to our bodily program, where our body and our mind, our monkey mind, has the control, which is basically automaton programming. This is not the living being that we are, the pure loving awareness, living multidimensional being is not the one that controls us and takes us into external addictions and pleasures. It's the body and the mind complex. It's that programming. And so if we really want to practice and take strides and steps towards really becoming our own free being, then we need to become really aware of where we can be mesmerized and dulled in this three-dimensional world. So I would encourage you, have a look at your own life, do a stock take. Where am I going into default trances? How am I going into escapism and numbing? And how can I take small steps or big steps, depending on where you're comfortable, to delete and remove and let go of these devices, programs running in our world, in our life experience, letting them go. Now, I would encourage you to do this. Honestly, I think that when you free up that space, you can then practice becoming still. And I've talked about this, be still. Being still means emptying the mind, which goes against all of our programming. From birth until now, all of our programming is about being up in here, thinking about tomorrow, staying in tomorrow, in fantasy world of tomorrow. And that causes anxiety, or staying in the fantasy world of yesterday, which is depression. Okay, memories are not now. They're just ideas, illusions, visions that we keep bringing up, and they turn into their own entity. So when we let go of all the past and the future, we let it go and still our mind, empty it, we can finally have space to move down into our hearts, where the true power lies, where the magic happens, where we have true sovereignty. And this is where heavenly solutions and miracles and magic happens in our lives, the flow. So have a look at your life, do a stock take, see where you're ready to let go of things that have mesmerized you, and start to appreciate that sharpening of your spiritual senses again. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share, and have a beautiful day. See ya.